Hello, this is the next installment in my list series for rookies, and this time I'm going to talk about a list type that sort of combines two ideas. It's the horde list. The horde list, what is it, how to play it, and how to play against it. What are the advantages and disadvantages? That's my purpose for today. So the horde list is when you field as many infantrymen as can possibly be fitted into your army. And since some armies you can take up to 15 to 20 men in a unit, you can field pretty large units, and that means that you can field maybe 100 infantry in an army list. That's insane. That is a lot of bodies. A variant of this is, of course, the Japanese bamboo spear horde, famous on the internet, right? And this army build, it takes the cheapest possible troops in the infantry selection, if they are any good. They usually are if they're in large enough numbers, right? And combines that with the idea that you have quite a lot of dice in your army. So what you take to support these infantrymen typically would be very small units, teams, maybe very cheap units such as the Kembatai officer, 15 points for a dice. That's brilliant. So you have a lot of dice in the army. Some of the horde armies go up to 20 dice, although they typically don't go above, because you're still going to need to pay the points for all that infantry, right? The point of playing a horde army is that you move all your infantry forward towards the enemy. And when you get within range, you shoot. When you get within assault range, you assault, and you just throw bodies at him. It's not very fun to play, and most of the times it's quite annoying, both for you and the opponent. But it works. It definitely works. I would suggest that people who are interested in playing sort of a horde army, that there are certain nations that do this better. Japan is definitely one of them, because you get fanatics on all your troops, right? That works very well. So Japanese bamboo spear horde or inexperienced militia hordes, they are a thing. So that's one way to play them. You can also play them with inexperienced shirkers in some other armies, but they're not very good. And the USSR can definitely field an inexperienced horde army as well, where you place a lot of infantrymen, with some of them with rifles, some of them unarmed, which is, I've always thought that was kind of nasty of them, right, to place unarmed infantrymen in a field of battle, and then just rush them towards the opponent. I would suggest that if you try the horde army, that you think very carefully about what you need to support it, because what will happen typically is the enemy will start shooting, and they will start killing your troops, and they will pin you down, and you won't be able to move. Japanese get around this by banzai charging, right? But they will still kill your troops. So what actually arrives at the enemy may not be enough. So I think that you should go down. If you start taking enemy fire, you should consider going down at least. Let the enemy waste his shots on your troops that are in cover and down. And then think about, what do you need that can take care of the enemy? I think a good combination is indirect shooting. Mortars, howitzers, and stuff like that. Because once the enemy has shot at your inexperienced horde, then you can start shooting at what he has just used, right? Because they're stuck now. They're not moving. So that combination, I think, works well. And you also need some anti-tank. You can assault tanks with your infantry and be fairly certain of damaging it, at least. But If you take pins and they are inexperienced, and usually the Horde army is inexperienced, then you won't do so reliably, unless you're Japanese again. So that is also a problem. I would also suggest that any Horde player, they learn how to do the daisy chain. That is where you place your minis with 1 inch apart and you sort of string them back in a long line behind some cover, so that more than 50% of the unit is in cover, and use that as an excuse. But basically it's gamey, right? It's super gamey. You're setting it up so that you have cover even though the unit is pushing up ready for assault or whatever it is. Super gamey, but that's what you need to do. Otherwise your inexperienced units will get shot up and will die before you get to use them properly. How to play against it? Well, I would suggest that you take a lot of ambush, that you shoot, but be aware that once you have pinned the enemy units, you don't really need to shoot them that much more, because the amount of bodies that the enemy can put on the table is just overwhelming. You're not going to be able to shoot everyone away and kill everyone. So I would put a couple of pins on everything if I can, and after that go after his support units. See if you can outflank him and get behind the horde that's running towards you, and go after those support units. That is where the real gold is. So that's how you play against it. So, advantages: lot of troops, very, very strong build, not very fun though. That's a disadvantage. But another disadvantage is you're going to have to paint 100 minis. So you're not going to win many painting competitions unless you have the patience for that. I don't. And if you're playing at least the Japanese bamboo horde, then you can only get those minis in metal, so they're quite expensive as well, which is also a detriment. Right, that was it. Horde armies. Cheers.